Hi and welcome along to the next in the instalments of the ICT video blog. You can hear my voice, it's David Robson. I'm back behind the camera today, and today I'm with Anthony Beckett, who's the AML course director, and I believe we're going to talk about anti-money laundering, specifically sanctions today. There's been some recent actions which I'm sure most of you will have seen relating to HSBC and Standard Chartered, where we're into the billions of pounds worth of fines, and a key part of that was sanctions. Anthony, is that right? So I think you're going to talk to us about some of the 4 key points to consider.
Absolutely, thanks Dave. And I think there's probably 2 key points that I wanted to bring out today. It's absolutely vital that you do know your customer, that you have a clear and verified knowledge of your customer. And it's particularly crucial, I think, when you have the sort of the complex structure type situations that you often come across. Apart from the formal identification as well, and the sort of identification and verification of the CDD, I think probably more importantly is having that profile of expected activity that you would expect to see on a client's account, for the reasons that you can pick up what is out of the ordinary and have the opportunity to do something about it. Okay,
so that's good. So we're talking about verifying who the customer is, and what's the next point then?
I think in any organisation it's having good systems to monitor the transactions. You have to ask yourselves the question, how do you, particularly when you're talking with systems, how do you cope with the age-old problem of fuzzy logic? And that recently came up as OFAC have just updated their search functionality that takes account of fuzzy logic. I would say don't rely either on fully automated systems. There's been a number of issues recently with letter of credit, and particularly documentation where names are on written documents and haven't been sanctioned screened. You have to ask yourselves the question, what about the policies and procedures in your organisation? They need to be regularly reviewed, and you need to keep them updated, particularly as we see the new and emerging technologies that are coming, and the financial technology innovations that we're seeing. The mobile technology and mobile phone use of banking is a classic example. And finally, and probably the most importantly from my perspective, I think, is how engaged are your staff in the issue of sanctions and potential money laundering situations.
Right, so you've mentioned staff there, Anthony. The next point I think you want to suggest is resourcing, and how's that affected?
Clear challenge, I think, in most compliance teams, Dave. The timely review by staff of alerts that are being generated is critical, and more importantly, making sure that they have sufficient knowledge and that have the right skills and training to make the right decisions and understand what they should be looking out for and what they should be doing. Too often you can think about the easy way out, which is changing the parameters of monitoring systems just to make sure that you don't have too many alerts. I'm not sure the regulator would be too keen on that approach. But the rationale of a risk-based approach is that that's what's expected. You need to have a constant review underway.
Right, so how does that then link into the last of the 4 then, the reporting of the potential hits?
The critical issue is just timely reporting. Simple as that. If you have a concern, you report it.
Right, okay, so we've covered off 4 quite major points there then. How come this was a particularly good time to address these then for sanctions?
I think it's probably just timely, Dave. I think the the bar is going up all the time, and I think particularly as we've seen with the publication recently of the proposals under the 4th Money Laundering Directive, sanctions can potentially now be applied to members of the management body and in fact any individual in a business. We've just seen today a report on the US regulators, how they're looking to punish the executives. You question why particularly it didn't happen in the HSBC case. And more importantly, I think the last bit was that the recent proposals are seeing the ramping up of the potential penalties to 10% of turnover for a company. That would be huge for somebody like HSBC. And more personally, it's increasing the personal liabilities up to something like €5 million to an individual.
Right, okay, well thanks very much for talking to us about that, Leon. So we can see sanctions is a hot topic and looks like it's going to stay one. So
it certainly is.
Thanks for that, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Dave.